Hello, and welcome to another episode, the fifth episode, in fact, of Town Hall Chat. I'm Christella Morris. I am one of the co-founders of Main Street Creative. I'm here with Jen Perry, my lovely co-founder, as well as Julie Cole from Mabel's Label. So thank you so much for joining us today, Julie.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yay! We're actually really excited to have you. I think that, I know I do, but Jen probably does as well, look up to you as sort of like an icon in the Canadian women in business, motherhood, balancing superwoman type of deal. So I feel like you get placed into that box a lot of this mom that kind of manages everything. And so I want to talk to you.
We don't yet know how my kids are turning out, so let's keep it all in perspective.
Well, they're cute so far, so that's what matters. But how do you feel about being put into that box of sort of like super mom?
Yeah, I think there is something to be said for, when you have a lot on the go and you have a lot on your plate. I do have these 6 kids and I have this business, but I also have like a ton of amazing support around me. I have 3 co-founders. We have an incredible staff team. I finally wised up and got a nanny, and so I've got, I'm not doing it on my own. I have tons of support. I'm not afraid to ask for help. I'm not afraid to take help. So I don't know about this whole supermom thing, but I seem to get through each day and stay relatively sane. So I feel there's some success there.
Yeah, well, that's all you can really ask for, right? I guess.
Yeah. I keep my I always say my standards are so low that I could trip over them. Like there are certain things I can really let go of, and I'm good at that.
That's good. Delegating, I think, is really important when you get to that point. So we had the town hall chat before this, and we were talking to everybody. We did what we call the normal Twitter chat kind of questions, and what we want to start doing is sort of integrating those questions into the live cast as sort of like a lightning round. So you have to answer them really quickly if you can.
Sounds like pressure.
Woo, pressure's on. Are you ready? Okay, so we're going to do that, and then we're going to do brief intros with everybody, and then we're going to go into our more discussion.
Okay.
So the question 1 is, do you like or dislike the term mompreneur, and why?
Okay, so I actually don't have a huge problem with it, only because I always think of it in defining it. We started our business as a result of our position as moms, so it does feel quite fitting in that way. And also, it is a term that has brought us a lot of recognition and brought us a lot of press. So, in a lot of ways, it's been really useful to us. If somebody's writing a story about moms who start businesses, I'm on the Rolodex. They're calling me, and hey, I'll take that. The only problem I do find with it is that sometimes people have the impression that because you're a mompreneur, you're not actually a serious business person, and that is completely wrong. I mean, so I think the term itself has got a few hairs on it, but we are savvy business women. I think also a lot of people think mompreneur, it's somebody who, they like knitting. So what they do is then they start knitting something and selling it, so they're a mompreneur.
So they're sort of like hobbyists.
It's like hobbyists, right? Like we're hobbyists. Well, I never made labels as a hobby. Like that was, things I did before I started the business, right? We started this business quite seriously with a business plan, with big ideas. We do a lot of strategic planning around it. And so we weren't hobbyists. And I do think sometimes the term carries with it sort of that idea that we're not serious business. Yeah. Of course we are.
Awesome. Good answer. And I totally agree with you, by the way. I think for me and maybe Jen, I don't know, it might be different because our roles didn't start off as being moms. Like I didn't start blogging because I was a mom. I actually blogged first and became a mom later, and then started blogging about mommyhood and felt it really ill-fitting for me for some reason. But I identify with that the same way that people kind of are trying to detract away from that mommy blogger kind of atmosphere. To me, it kind of feels like the same push and pull. When is it okay to be mom, and when is it like, no, I'm a professional. I'm a person who deserves to not have a like predescript in front of my name or my title.
that term also can work in your favor sometimes and can work against you, you know? So, I mean, I call myself a parenting blogger. So I don't know if that sounds a little, I don't know, I think the term mommy sometimes people have a problem with, but I am a mommy and I am a blogger. And guess what? I blog about my family. So it is what it is.
Yeah, and we were talking about that earlier today too, about how if you blog about mom things and that's sort of like your wheelhouse, then yeah, call me a mommy blogger all day long. But when
I think it's got the same, like you say, the push-pull, it's the same like with the term mompreneur. It's got some connotation to it that somehow it feels a little like it's belittling. But you know what? You own your terms. Call yourself what you want. Be comfortable with it and go with it.
Or I'm just going to go to the coffee shop and start calling people like my dad barista and my like, you know, uncle doctor. Maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so question number 2. How important is it to you to follow your passion in business as opposed to like going where the money is, and how do you teach that to your kids?
Right. Look, I think if you follow your passion, the money follows. So I don't know that they're mutually exclusive. I think that like for us with our business, you know, we started it because we wanted a few things. We wanted more balance in life. We did want to leave the traditional workforce. I really wanted to because at that time my eldest child had been diagnosed with autism, and the traditional workforce is hard enough on regular old moms, but when you have a child with special needs, it's extra hard. And all the research I did, you know, just showed me that the more involved I am in his program, the better the outcomes. So, you know, there was a shift there. The great thing about owning a business and running it with passion is that your children really see that, and it provides you, you know, the opportunity to be a great role model. Like my kids are really proud of the fact that, you know, mom started Mabel's Labels. They you know, and they feel really proud. They see me work hard. They see that, you know, if you go after something you love, then it works out and you're happy, and you see something grow, and you're to be a part of that is really exciting, and they really see that, and they live it every day through my business, and I think, you know, they win because of that as well. And sometimes when I feel like, oh gosh, you know, when you're feeling that push-pull between, oh, I want to be with the kids, but I have a meeting or whatever, I have to remind myself, like, my growing a business is really good for them too.
For sure. And I think that that's a really good point that I think a lot of people kind of fail to make is when you are an entrepreneur, you're not just doing it for yourself or for selfish reasons. It's really about building a better life for a lot of people.
For sure. And I mean, I've said to my kids the odd time when they've said, oh, why do you have to travel with work, or why do you have to do that? I remind them that I could have like my own job. I could be a lawyer on Bay Street and had to get on a 6 a.m. GO train and get home at 7 o'clock at night. And then they're like, yeah, no, stick with the labels, Mom.
It's true. And I totally agree with that point. I think that it's so important to kind of showcase to your kids that that is a life that is worth living in if it's something that you are interested in and follow along with.
And I also think communicating with your kids about it, like really having honest, open communication is super important because, you know, for me, you know, there's a lot of talk about, you know, parents are always on their gadgets, how engaged are they, and, you know, there's that debate all the time. And I find I just keep my kids really aware of what's happening. So, you know, if I, you know, go to the park with them in the afternoon, I'll say, you guys, this is great, I can do this, but I get one phone call. Or if, you know, I go to their soccer game, I'll be like, I have to send 2 emails while I'm at soccer. So if you look up, that's what I'm doing. I'm only going to send 2, but it's going to happen during your soccer game. Then they know what to expect. But the alternative is, okay, I'll go sit in an office and I'll be at your soccer game. Or I'll be at meetings all day sitting in a cubicle, and I won't be able to go to the park or see your school play. So you know what? The gadget is my friend, and it helps, you know, it does provide me with a certain amount of flexibility. That means I can be with them more.
For sure, for sure.
We need to feel guilty about it. We just need to talk to them about it.
I know, and I love that because I'm a tech blogger, and I think sometimes I get that kind of push and pull, like too much gadgets for kids, and I think that in the right time, right place, with the right explanation makes all the difference in the world.
100%.
Awesome. Okay, question number 3. Let's get through these. As a work-at-home type, so obviously you spend a lot of time with that work-at-home balance, how do you manage your daily workload without burning out? I know that's a big issue for me. especially because my kids are still so small. How do I pack it all into the day? So how do you pack it all into the day?
So I am very organized around my family and around my work. Certainly there's going to be times where I should have, tuned out earlier, but I'm waiting on something and I've got to do something, and, the balance goes off every now and again. But generally, I keep my productivity high by being super organized, and also by setting up expectations to my children and to our staff. So, for instance, I'm very fussy about, and this is something that we actually do company-wide. Like, we try not to do drive-bys at work. So, like when you're sitting at your desk and somebody pops around and they're like, "Hey, can I pick your brain for a minute?" And then, you're head down in a project, so you have to pop up, you have to deal with that question, and then you have to get your brain back into the game. And then 10 minutes later, somebody says, "Hey, Julie, can I pick your brain for a sec?" And you're like, "Okay." So then your project, which should take you an hour to do, ends up taking you all day long. So, if somebody needs to pick my brain, they can send me an email and say, "Julie, are you available today between 1 and 2, or when are you available?" And then, so if I'm working on a project, I'll turn my notifications off. And then maybe 15 minutes every 2 hours, I go through them. And then that's a chance that I can say, "Absolutely, let's talk at 3 o'clock." And it's only 11 o'clock then. So then I'm actually getting my projects done. I'm not constantly getting distracted by the shiny objects, the people, the Twitter, all that. And yet everybody's needs are being fulfilled. And obviously, if it's an emergency, somebody can pop in. But we very much around Mabel's Labels say, your lack of organization does not constitute my emergency. So everybody has to be a little bit organized. And and even with the kids, like around productivity, like I do raise them to be fairly independent. They, do their own, they do their chores, and they help pack school lunches, and they have a lot of responsibility around here, because I can't be chasing 6 kids around, with all the things that need to get done. So I train them up pretty early. I feel like that's a really good investment in my time to make them independent early. It's harder to do all the training, but it's long-term easier. And then I do really silly things that make life easy. Like, I have an amazing carpool system going. I don't, like, all my kids, all their activities, like, I only ever drive one way, maybe, because we've got a great carpool system. And, if my daughter, I'll maybe put my daughter on my son's hockey team, so they're on the same team. Or if 2 are in gymnastics, great. Like, I double up a lot. So I've got a lot of little tricks to the trade, so that, things are done, run quite smoothly at home and at work. And, schedules, like big whiteboard. I could give you the tour of my house right now, like whiteboard, color-coded, with who goes where when, and meal plan for the month. Like, I meal plan for the month. So, like, it's hanging up. Nobody's saying what's for dinner. They look in the morning and they know what's for dinner. And then it's that at 4 o'clock saying, "Oh, what am I going to feed them?" It's already been shopped for. It's already ready to go. And I keep those things really simple as well. Really simple meals during the week. So, what, I just try and simplify, and I really value my time. And I think that's the problem. A lot of women say yes to everyone, and I really learned to say no. And it's a very, like, stand in front of the mirror, ladies, and say no. Practice over and over again until you can say it without feeling any guilt.
Well, thank you for saying yes to coming tonight, then, if that's the case, because it means a lot. And I think that it's important for us as kind of newbie entrepreneurs who really want to grow a business, not only us, but the people who are watching and the people who, follow you as a person. We all want to know your tricks, because, how do you do it? And that, you're totally right on the organization and the keeping things as simple as possible. For me, that's like something I'm really, really, really trying to overhaul right now. And I had I have a lot of fun chats with Jen where I tell her all my crazy ideas, and I always say I feel like having more kids would make me more organized, because it's like there's simplicity in the chaos. Like, I would like,
and like, you don't have a choice. Like, I don't have I can't, like, I can't not be organized, because then it would be, oh yeah, whoa. But again, around the value and the time, and like, this is something, like, I found myself, I'm going to say about 2 years ago, I was feeling really overwhelmed with, like, I want to help new entrepreneurs, and I want to talk to them, and I want to share what I've learned, like so many people shared with me in the early days and still do. But I felt like every day I was getting that email or that, that tweet saying, Julie, can I pick your brain? Can I take you for coffee? Can I take you for lunch? And I'm like, I'm actually not a consultant. I got labels to get out of the door. But at the same time, I was torn because I also wanted to give back. But in valuing my own time, what I ended up doing was I set up a half day or a day every 6 weeks, and I let people sign up for 45-minute slots. And if they want to meet me at a coffee shop or wherever I set up for that day, then they can. And if that doesn't fit their schedule, then they can come the following session when I do it 6 weeks later. So now my day isn't like always responding to all these people who I do want to help, but I don't have the capacity. So I found that was a really good compromise. And I think sometimes we just have to think outside the box a bit to find that balance.
And you're obviously very solution oriented. And I think that comes from having to manage so many things. Is that just something that will come in time? Please tell me, please tell me.
It will. It totally will come in time. But it's almost a problem because I am solution based. So like when friends are like, oh, having to complain about something, I'm like, you want me to fix that? Because I can fix that. They're like, no, I just want to complain to you. I'm like, yeah, complain to somebody else because I'll just be like, here, let me fix that for you. And it's like the people who complain about being tired. I'm like, I've never said I'm tired and gotten more sleep as a result. So I don't say it,
I was totally complaining about being tired today.
Doesn't help. So if you say I'm tired, I'll be like, okay, let's look at your schedule.
Maybe I should have you take a look at my schedule, come to think of it. Okay, so the last question is, do you live to work or do you work to live?
Does it have to be one or the other? I think both make the other better.
Yeah.
I think, I just feel that I'm actually a better parent because of some of the personal pleasure I get out of the work I do. And I'm pretty good at my work because, I'm surrounded by so many awesome little people.
That's a great answer. And it's funny because I know for me, and Jen, you can answer after, but for me, I always lived to work until I had a family. Right. And then I was like, oh, wait, I can do it the other way around.
And that shift can be a shocker, right? Like that can be.
It was a total shocker.
Yeah, especially when you if you're really into your work, and especially like my friends who have had babies sort of late in life, then they're just, it's kind of mind-blowing, right?
Yeah.
It's a huge shift. It's a huge
shift. For sure. And finding that new balance, that new footing can take some time, I think. And I'm almost I'm 4 years in.
Yeah.
So
you need to be patient with yourself, and everyone, you will find your feet. And even today, I mean, my oldest kid is 14. I've been doing this parenting gig for a while now. You still get off balance. You still have to make changes. And I always say, I gave up guilt 4 kids ago. If I feel like something's off kilter, then I make a change. I don't dwell on it. I don't, lie in bed feeling guilty about it and sobbing. I just okay, I got that wrong. I'll do better next time.
It's such a nice, refreshing view on things.
Survival.
That's right.
Okay, so with that, thank you so much for filling out our lightning round. So we have a few questions for you, and I know we have a few questions from all the people who joined us during the chat. So which one do you want to do first? You can pick.
Whatever you like.
Okay.
I'm all yours.
Why don't we take a viewer question, Jen?
All right. So the first one we got, we actually have already answered in our lightning round. It was in. So we'll skip that one, but we'll go with.
We'll give them a shout out.
So it was Jessica Terry had asked about how she finds time for all of her business-related stuff with 6 kids in tow, but I think we pretty much covered that. But great question.
With time and schedule.
Question for sure.
Yeah.
The other thing that's actually funny that I do want to respond to about that is it is funny. I find that just something to ponder. That whenever I go to an evening event or speaking engagement, people always say, "Who's babysitting the kids?" And whenever Daddy-O goes to a work function at night, no one ever asks him.
Never.
Never.
Oh, it's never going to balance out, is it? I don't think so.
Worth noting, but it just goes to show that we still are carrying the load, at home, and we for sure. I mean, the Daddy-O around here flies in and out. He's gone. He's in another province right now, and he won't be home till Friday night. So that's another ball in the air, right? But
yeah,
there's a lot. I say, I think I did cover it. Say no, know your value. Do what's important, get your priorities, and keep perspective. My goodness, perspective is my greatest strategy. Like, my house is not clean. I don't make beautiful meals. I don't, like, these are the things I always say at my funeral. Nobody's going to talk about the beautiful meals I gave them in the gorgeous, tidy house they came to, but those aren't important to me. I don't want them saying that at my funeral. But those things, I'm kind of lucky because it doesn't stop me from opening up my home. Like, at any time, anytime I come home, there's lots of neighborhood kids here and neighbors stop by and whatever. And dirty house actually doesn't make me feel like, oh my gosh, they can't come in. So I'm really, it's very freeing when you don't worry about like, I don't sweat the small stuff, and that makes my life a lot easier.
So what you're saying is I need to stop the frantic cleaning before people come over.
Oh, who cares about the cleaning? I would say if I'm having like a party, I like tell some friends, like, I'll tell them it starts earlier so that when they come here, I can give them jobs.
Genius.
Jen, I'm going to start drinking.
I'm genius. I figured it out.
That is funny. Oh my gosh. Okay, that's a good one. So my first question is, now Mabel's Labels has 4 co-founders, and it seems like you're kind of the most present. Maybe it's just because you're in the blogging world.
I'm a person. That's my role.
Cool. So for the 4 of you, how do you each fit into your roles? Because I know Jen and I, we always talk about how we're right brain and left brain of the company. How do you guys divvy up the brain?
I think that took a little while for us to get our feet with that at the beginning. So we have, obviously our business has lots of different parts. So, one person is finance and IT, and one person's production, and one person's marketing, one person's customer service. So basically, of all the departments, we've divided them up equally. Of course, I'm the spokesperson, so that is also a role that's separate. I'm a individual contributor, so it's not like I have staff, though I have amazing people who help. Like, you guys would have talked to Sandra today, who's our social media coordinator. The early days, I think we did a little toe stepping, a little bit of micromanaging, and we had to really practice trusting each other. And it sounds silly, but you know what? Sometimes you just got to let go and let everybody do their job and not micromanage them and not ask too many questions. Like, we report to each other. We have our senior leadership team meetings every 2 weeks where, we report back. But we really did have to learn to trust each other and let each other do our jobs without feeling like 3 people were watching them all the time. And it's hard, like when you have no business advisor would ever say, hey, start a business with 3 other people. But we went into it knowing each other really well. We all went to university together and we're related and that sort of thing. And for us, I think it allowed us in those early days to grow a little faster than some companies because we were actually able to divide and conquer. So, I've never stepped foot in a bank. I don't actually know how to make a label anymore. In the old days, sure. So we were able, I could write a press release back in the day, long before social media, let me tell you. So we were able to divide up the tasks, and it allowed us to sort of attack the market at a kind of better speed.
I like that.
Pros and cons. Lots of feisty conversation on that boardroom table. There's no question. And even we get the communication wrong sometimes. We all communicate differently. We've had to learn how each other communicates. And again, when we screw it up and we say something the wrong way, it's like, dude, sorry, I'm still practicing. We're learning.
I like it. I like that approach to it. And speaking of approaches, oh geez, I'm just gonna approach my pen over there. I read up a lot about different companies and marketing and strategies and business strategy. And I really love the stuff that I was reading about the Mabel's Labels results-oriented work environment. And that's something that's really kind of close to my heart because when it comes to clocking hours, it may not look like I'm the type of person that does a lot, but I get a lot done in a short period of time. Right. So can you explain sort of how the ROWE and how...
Yeah, for sure. So we've got this ROW, a results-only work environment. We are the first Canadian company to adopt this. We flew a consulting firm in, Culture RX, from the States because, you know what, we were just not wanting to like do the adult babysitting thing. Like, it just felt like, why do we care if somebody's sitting at a desk from 8:30 to 5:30? Like, what is that? How is that affecting our bottom line? So why don't we just focus on everybody meeting their goals? And we did that shift, and it's so much better because we know as moms how much we can get done. Like, we are so productive. So why not extend that to everyone? And, you know, why not? The thing that I really love about it is that there's this thing called sludge. So it's like, you know, when you walk into the office 10 minutes late and people are like, oh, nice of you to join us. We don't have any of that because it's like mind your own business. Like everybody just manages their own time and their own goals. And we have a standard answer. If somebody says, oh, are you going to be in the office today? All you say is there something you need from me? Nobody's business whether you're there or not. It's between you and your manager and achieving your goals. And people often ask, well, what if they can't achieve their goals? Do you take the row away from them? And it's like, no, they get fired. They don't fit in with our culture, you know?
Is it like a strike system, or how does that work? Is it kind of at the mercy of the manager?
It really is. Like it's between, I mean, there's going to be no big surprises because communication is good. You're meeting with your manager regularly, setting your goals, you know, checking your goals. I mean, obviously, if you drop the ball on something, then it's like, whoa, 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 whoa. But you certainly wouldn't, I mean, if you're not achieving your goals, then you don't belong here.
Yeah.
And we just didn't want people, like, we don't want people lying and saying they're sick because they want to go to their kid's Christmas play. Go to your kid's Christmas play, you know?
It's all about perspective.
All of it, like, yeah, if you get your work done, you can go wherever you want. We had this IT kid, he spent 3 months in Europe last year. And we gave him a paycheck the whole time because guess what? Fulfilled all of his goals. And it was great for our company because when he was out like traveling through Europe, he'd find all these like tech hubs and hang out there, and he went to some printing shows and he met cool people and learned stuff from them, and they shared stuff with him that he brought back to our business, and that's a win-win, you know? So we would have lost that employee because he was, you know, in his early 20s and being like, I gotta see the world, and we would have lost a great employee. Instead, we're like, well, you want to give it a go? Like he knew if he was dropping the ball, he was going to have to get himself on a flight and get back for quick, smart, and get it sorted. Otherwise, he'd lose his job, but managed it quite well. And the other thing that I love about it, as from sort of a small mid-sized company perspective, is that, you know what, when we go to hire people, it's a really amazing thing to put down. Like we feel like our candidacy pool, when we're making a hire, is bigger. We're having, you know, higher quality candidates. So our HR people love it.
That's great. It's awesome. And I think, personally speaking, because I'm the creative side of the brain, I'm not always, you know, 100% of the day a productive, creative person. I have to really kind of work at the times where my brain's saying, be creative. And the other times I'm like, okay, I need to clean something, or I have to follow that, like, emotional balance throughout my day and get my work done in that way. And explaining that to people who aren't creative can seem challenging. So that type of environment where you're really focused on what's getting done as opposed to when it's getting done is a really awesome approach to business in general. And I think,
I mean, like anything, there's deadlines that we have to meet. And, you know, we're a company, if we're, you know, launching a new website or launching a new product, then IT needs to get this stuff on the website by this time, and we have to get through the testing. And there's a lot of departments relying on other departments to get stuff done. But we just project manage. We have a full-time project manager, and we have weekly meetings, and we have a really good internal communication system, Basecamp, where, you know, everybody's updating. You got to keep everybody else in the company updated so that they know whether it's their turn to take over that project and do their bit and then hand it to the next department. I mean, communication has to be strong, and there certainly are deadlines that have to be met. But like you say, you might be better at meeting deadlines between 11 p.m. and 2 a.m. It doesn't mean you're less of an employee or you can't meet your goals. You just meet them at a different time.
It just means I'm really, really tired in the morning.
Morning people.
I'm not. I'm equally morning person and night person. I'm just more on at nighttime, which is good for me and bad for the local coffee shop, or good for them, depending on how you look at it.
You got to buy coffee, right?
Yes. So Jen, do we have any more questions?
We do. So actually, we can tie this one in. You were saying about how you're sort of you're the face of the company, and we have a question that came in from Don't Lick the Deck at Nerd Girl Mom, and she wants to know what are your insider tips for making your frequent TV appearances so great?
Oh, that's a great question, Tara. anyways, people read, don't lick the deck. This mom of 3 girls, 1, 2 on spectrum, so part of the autism community as well. Hilarious, great, great content. So have a look at her blog. Yeah, what makes my TV appearances great? I don't know, good makeup artist. Somebody does my hair for me. Look, I'm gonna say I think it's really wise to get yourself media trained. Because I found in the early days, especially if I had a male host interviewing me about Mabel's labels, they would always get caught up in like all the kid stuff and want to know about that. I'd be like, "Whoa, hold on, buddy, I'm here to talk about labels. Let's get back." And you have to do a lot of redirecting. So you learn about all these tricks about if they go off on tangents and how to bring them back and how to really turn their questions. Like they can kind of ask you anything, and you really can turn it into anything you want. But it is a skill. And I was media trained. First of all, I got some free media training when we won the Savvy Mom Entrepreneur of the Year award years ago. But already I'd like been on breakfast television, done a few things, and they're like, you kind of, I've got a little bit of a knack for it for sure because I got the gift of the gab. But I do think that getting some media training is really helpful. And what's useful about it is that they act like the interview. And then you answer the questions, and then you go through it together. And even little things like she'd be like, "You said my company, say Mabel's labels. I want to make sure you say Mabel's 3 times in every interview or whatever." So just little tips like that. So I know some great folks in Toronto, some great folks in Hamilton. I know great folks everywhere who can do some media training. It's worth a few $100. And as far as booking the gigs. Yeah, I think, really for me, being able to position yourself as an expert is where you end up getting the invitations. So for me, sure, I sell labels, but I don't blog about labels. I blog about parenting, and I blog about organization. I blog about, juggling this. So yeah, again, it's about being on the Rolodex. Like if they want, to talk to somebody about balance, they're calling me because I have a business and 6 kids, and I'm still standing at the end of the day. So if you can position yourself as an expert, it's really, really useful. And a good way to do that is because people often ask me, is it worth getting entrepreneurial awards? And I think it's worth it for a couple of reasons. The process of applying is a big pain, but it forces you to look at your business plan again. It makes you ask yourself those hard questions again. And then if you do win them, you get some press out of it, and it does put you on the radar of people. So that's pretty much how I've got a great PR gal. I think if you can, put some money into a bit of PR, get somebody pitching for you and that sort of thing, that's really useful too. But I know a lot of people don't have money to do that. We certainly didn't in the old days, but it's worth it. I find money spent on PR is money well spent.
And that's a great kind of topic, and I feel like that's a direction that the blogging industry is sort of moving in, where there's becoming more people who are experts in their field and who are, doing events like this. And I don't see a lot of that kind of stuff at conferences and being discussed. When do you start approaching your blogging as an entrepreneurial endeavor in and of itself? When should you get media training as a blogger? When should you hire a PR agency to start doing the pitches for you and fielding requests and not have to answer those 80 emails that come in saying, "Dear mommy blogger, please write free stuff for us. Signed PR agency."
Look, I think the time comes. I think a good way to start is, first of all, just start writing and trying to get it out there. I think, there's the upcoming Wisdom Conference. I think, if you can, save up your pennies and get to, you're going right. You're speaking.
Main Street is a sponsor. We're a PR partner, we're a media partner, and then we are both community leaders.
Right on.
So you can still sign up for my session.
Yay! Yay!
Mine's sold out.
Oh, there you go.
Look,
I think that's a great way to make some contacts, to get some education, to talk to other people who have been there, done that. And honestly, those micro sessions that are listed are phenomenal.
Absolutely.
So I think a great starting point is to get your butt to a conference like Blistum. I've been going to conferences a long time. I've been blogging since 2007, so I've been around a while. And the best information you're going to get is from your peers who are also bloggers. And, You know, I know sometimes that Dear Mommy blogger stuff is the pits. I saw a hilarious, I won't name what company, saw a hilarious one today, and it was pretty insulting what the offer was. But you know what? Like, if you're starting out, like, maybe it's okay to do that early on. Like, I know everybody says, oh, get paid for your value, but maybe your value is actually working with a bigger brand and being able to say on your press sheet, I've done a partnership with Target, or I've done, even if it meant, just that you did some tweets for them and they gave you like a gift certificate for $50 or something or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, rather than, sticking your nose up at everything, like some of that stuff when you're starting out, it can be a strategic partnership that leads to something. So I know everybody gets really offended when they get the Dear Mommy blogger, but you also have to know, like, because I'm in that unique position of being a blogger and being a brand.
As are we, yeah.
Right? And like, I'm sorry, a lot of the bloggers who are wanting money and good, like, they don't actually write well.
We say this like every week.
We were just talking about this earlier today.
Bloggers, you got to really, like, I would never, even still, like, I would never hit publish without having somebody at my blog. I would, like, I just think, you know what, like, don't get too big for your britches too soon.
And there's never a reason not to say yes to something unless it doesn't fit, to me. If it's not a good fit, that's something.
And I do think you need a fit. Like, don't, like, be true to your brand. And because sometimes it is easy to get tempted by the money. Like, if somebody says, oh, I'd love you to do this, and it's a really great project, and they're going to give you money for it. But if it's not a good fit for your brand, you're actually sacrificing a lot, because what you're going to do is you're going to cut off opportunities in the future to work with brands that are a fit for you and that you're really going to dig.
Yeah.
So, as tempting as it can be, if you're like, no, that brand isn't really a fit for me, say no, because you'll thank yourself later.
Yeah, and I think that that's kind of a learning curve. It's sort of, there is no how to be an awesome blogger manual. Maybe we'll write one. But at the end of the day, you have to do what feels good and feels right for you. And sometimes, I know my 3 biggest posts for SEO, like the stuff where I'm constantly getting traffic the year over year on, as a review of a J.J. Cole tote bag, like baby bag that I wrote, a bag that I paid for, wrote a review about, because I was learning how to write reviews.
You love that bag.
I love the bag, and I wrote a review about it. That's it. And a stroller that I bought and paid for and wrote a review on. Baby Jogger Study Select, obsessed with it, and I was like, I need to write a review about this. Again, I didn't get sponsored for that. I would love a free one, Baby Jogger.
Send her one.
Yeah, and a local play place that we go to. And I said, hey, I'll write a review about you, and then we can work together. Because it was sort of, I was positioning it in a different way completely. So, don't
get a cart horse. Sometimes they all get out of whack.
Yeah.
You just have to go with what feels right for you.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to say it.
Like, I totally get the frustration, because I get pitched pretty regularly, and I don't do a lot of brand stuff because I got my own stuff to peddle. But often I've got this one blogger friend who I think writes really well. So I'll do like an e-intro with that PR company, and I'll say, oh, you got to get my pal to write. She's, she writes really well. And then, it doesn't happen because she doesn't have the following and she doesn't have the numbers. And it's frustrating because, you know what, if she did one thing with them, she would have the following and she would have the numbers. So I'm like, I thought this is my advice to brands, is that, and I feel this, like, don't always just, like, don't Google the top bloggers and work with them. We've constantly worked with, like, the up-and-comings, and we'll be like, that person, they don't have much of a following, but I dig them, and they get our brand, and they we're on the same page, and they'll be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you want to work with me. And then, I'm not kidding you, always 3 years later, their blog is awesome, and they're doing well. So, you know what, brands have to be, everybody thinks you can just, the Dear Mommy blogger kind of thing. No, you know what? You need to read people's blogs. You need to comment on them.
Absolutely.
There's no overnight quick, what bloggers should I work with? People are always like, give me the list of 10 top bloggers to work with. I'm like, I don't know your brand well enough.
Yeah, and then the 10 top bloggers for you are different than the 10 top bloggers for Tide or, Notebook or us. And so don't go with that. And it's funny because I got crazy pitches when I ended up on this top 10 Toronto mom blog, and it's all you know, it's all a popularity contest. It's all based on like voting and page views. And so at the end of the day, is it really like?
I actually don't do any contests that involve voting.
Yeah. I didn't know at the time. I was like, okay, I'll be in this, and I didn't even come close to winning.
You know what? I don't think there's anything wrong with it, because that is then something again to put on your press sheet if you were named top of this, whatever. And I just can't get in a space where friends are voting for, like,
and everybody is in the same circles, so it's like.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't want to compete with my buddies. Like, no. And I don't like asking for votes. It all makes me feel a little bit, I don't know, dirty inside or something.
And it's just
for me. But I don't judge. Just not for me. Again, you got to do what's right for you.
Totally. And it's funny because, as you said, you know, it's important for brands to start to learn that traffic isn't what it's all about. It's really about the content of writing. And with Main Street, we're sort of like a dual media agency where we put out a lot of content and work and websites and whatever. And then we also do PR branding specifically with bloggers. And our goal with that is to develop engaging stories. It's not about traffic. Yes, traffic is important and it gets your stuff seen and whatever, but that story is there forever.
Stories, the traffic will come.
Exactly.
But it doesn't happen overnight either. Like, people will be like, oh, you know, I only have a couple comments and a few shares. I'm like, dude, you started blogging 5 minutes ago. And it's like a few years ago, I always laugh. Brené Brown was speaking at Mom 2.0, and she made the best comment. And I was like, this is what people need to understand when they're like, oh, you know, you get called for everything, you do everything. It's like, dude, I've been in line for 10 years.
Yeah.
You know, it's like this overnight success has been 15 years of grueling hard work.
Not so overnight after all.
There's nothing overnight about it. Everyone who's done really well, and brands, bloggers, all the people out there, they are working their butts off, and that's what you're going to have to do. Like, that's just the reality. So I think sometimes we tend to, you know, put people on pedestals or think, oh, everything comes to them, or they get invited to everything. And it's like, yeah, it's not as glamorous as you might think.
It's really not glamorous, and I think that for some people it's exciting and fun, and but at the end of the day, if you don't have the talent and the writing talent and the creativity to kind of back it up and write interesting stories and branded content, then it's always gonna kind of fall flat, because you can't carry that on forever without something real to say.
I always say, like, with both my brand and like with Mabel's labels and with the blog, like with anything to do with me, you have to be, and I know it's like the buzzword of authentic, but you have to find your voice. You have to speak it, because the mamas can sniff out a fake like no one else. And that's why
you need to be mean, girl. You're like, you're a poser.
Like, oh, I had somebody call me once, and they're like, Julie, have you noticed this blogger is starting to like write like you, and she actually uses some of your terms, and like, doesn't it make you like antsy and break out in hives and get all itchy and stuff? And I'm like, you know what? No, because it can't last. There's only one, like, nobody can really compete against you. There's only one you. And somebody can try and have your voice. Somebody can try and do the things you do, but unless you're being you, it ain't gonna happen.
Preach.
Just be the best you can be.
Absolutely, and you hit it right on the nose. You know, being authentic and being yourself will always sell more product, or talk up something better, or get more comments or more engagement, because you're being real. And I know
somebody else is boring.
Yeah, don't be boring. See?
Somebody else is boring.
Yeah.
Boring. That's no fun at all.
Now, do you find, because you kind of straddle this blogging / product peddling, as you said, kind of worlds, do you have to censor the things that you say as a blogger?
I am careful. I won't hit any of the really touchy subjects. I mean, my opinions are known, but, you know, when it comes down to certain things, I'll leave it to, I'll let Annie, a PhD in parenting, deal with that one. I'll let, I don't, because at the same time, like, if I am the voice of my brand, you know what, I'm not doing my brand any favors if I'm pissing off customers either, right? Like, you do have to find a balance, and it doesn't mean that you're not being yourself, you're not having a voice, you're not sharing opinions. I'm just careful about the ones I do share.
Well, you have to think about your customers beyond just your blog.
Absolutely. And I have to think about, our employees. I got to think about my partners, and I need to make sure that I'm bringing forth the best voice that for them.
Yeah, cool. Where did you find that in the past that blogging has sort of helped elevate your business and vice versa?
So something that we did really well was, well, we always knew that our market, moms are word of mouth, right? Like we talk about products, like it's a full-time job. Like, when we do the school drop-off, oh, what's your stroller? Oh, I like your sling. We talk about these things all the time. Like you said, your first 3 blogs were about products you loved. Nobody gave you anything. But if you're an influencer, people listen to that. Like moms don't trust traditional advertising. Like you're not going to buy a double stroller without asking me what double stroller I use, right? You're not going to trust an ad. We trust our influencers generally. So when social media came about, we jumped on board pretty early because we're like, oh, this is like word of mouth online. Oh, this is good. So one of my partners who's got a really good marketing mind, she's like, oh, this is for us. So we got on really early, and we were reaching out to bloggers about doing giveaways and doing reviews before anyone was doing it. And it was so I'd say the best thing working with bloggers was doing that early outreach, and now our relationships have stayed strong through all these years. And I go to blog her every year. I go to Mom 2.0. I go to a lot of conferences in the US as well, because a lot of our bloggers are in the US, and they're just like, wow, Julie, we love Mabel's Labels because you guys have always supported us. Always supported us. We're part of the conversation. And so we do it because it's good for business, and we do it because it's really fun, and we do it because people want to buy from brands they know and they trust. And having a face to that brand separates you from the brands that just are nothing. And we know how our buyers make their purchasing decisions, and it is by feeling connected to brands.
Do you think that bloggers would do well to know their target markets a little bit better?
Yes, I think you always, not only do you need to know who you are, you need to know who your audience is. And that's extremely important. And just, in the early days, you just, follow other bloggers who have the same interests as you, comment on their blogs, they'll comment back. Some of their readers will come over and check you out then, right? Like, so you'll find your peeps, you'll find your community, and it takes time.
Awesome. Yeah, for sure. We have one more Twitter question that Jen's going to give you.
All right, so this one came in from Kim from Chatters of Gabby, and her question is, if you were just starting out all over again, what do you know now that you wish you had known then?
Oh, wow. Do we have all night?
You can if you want. Technically, we have 10 minutes, but...
Yeah, right. What would oh, gosh. I'm going to say, am I speaking from a blogger perspective or a brand company perspective?
Yeah.
From like a company perspective, although we were pretty good at this, we probably would have just done it more. And I would say, you know what, if you don't know how to do something, get the help. Like we recently launched a retail product into Walmart Canada, and I mean, we were 10 years in online business. We didn't know the first thing about retail, and it's a whole separate business. It's a whole nother game. So we hired a retail consultant, and that retail consultant spent a year at the Mabel's Labels office and taught us how to pitch and helped us build those relationships with suppliers and supply chain and all that stuff. Like it's a whole other game. So, doing that, like, you're better off, and contractors are great, because it's not like you have to hire somebody full time. You can get a contractor and you can get all the knowledge. They can do introduce you to their contacts. That was really wise of us. And I think in the early days, I think a lot of people try to save money by doing all the stuff themselves. But even like with your blog or for your company, you can spend a week trying to do your own taxes, or you can hire somebody who can do your taxes in about 20 minutes and spend that week growing your business and selling your product and getting your face out there.
Preach.
So although it might seem like a short-term savings, the long-term cost is not worth it. Hire people to do the stuff you suck at.
And that's something I know for Main Street. It's really hard for us to say, hey, spend $600 on a new blog because this is why you need it, X, Y, Z. Yeah. But in reality, people who are taking their blog seriously as a business need to understand that that's an investment in their blog's future. We know, how things are supposed to look on mobile, user experience. This is the stuff we're thinking about.
They're not, right? Yeah.
It's not even in your mind. And that's okay. It doesn't need to be. You need to write about stuff. We'll worry about your user experience.
Exactly. And it's the old, you need to spend money to make money.
Good tip there. Good tweet that one, Jen. But yeah, no, for us, I think our goal with the blogging industry and, working with titans like you and other, people, Blistum, Canada, and all the amazing people we've been partnering with lately is just about getting the word out that, like, treat your business like an art and treat your art like a business. And
love it.
Your blog is your art, right? So take that art and make it your business. And how do you do that? Beyond just monetization, well, you have to invest your time and your money and your everything into it, really.
Like business. You gotta mean business.
Gotta mean it. Mean that business. But yeah, no, totally. And so we'd love to hear more about that in the future. We really enjoyed having you here. We have about 5 minutes left, so if you have any last-minute questions, Jen, we'd love to.
We don't have any more questions that have come in. However, I thought that maybe we'd give you an opportunity to let us know what it is you'll be talking about at Blistum.
Ooh.
Okay, what am I talking about at Blistum?
Blistum, Canada.
I'm like, I got about before then. Okay, so I'm a community leader, but I'm not doing micro sessions because I know. I'm speaking on a parenting panel called Crash the Helicopter.
Right. So I love that.
Talking about, kind of, because a lot of people are parenting bloggers, and I think a really good conversation to have too. And as my kids now, I've got, like, my biggie kids are in grades 7, 8, 9. And as they get older, there's some privacy issues that you need to consider. And, my kids now can Google me, and I want to make sure I don't want any surprises. So I think, talking about parenting in that space will be an interesting part of that conversation. Also about different parenting styles. And I have a lot of opinions around that because I'm sort of a free-range parenter. My kids, they go out and play and they go roam the streets on their bikes. And my big kids don't have cell phones because I don't want them calling me to rescue them. I'm like, figure it out. In a real emergency, you'll find a way to get a hold of me. So I think that'll be really fun. I think a lot of the conversations that are going to happen at Blistum are going to be great. I'm going down to, if anyone's in KW, I'm speaking at the Chamber event on Thursday there, an Inspire Women event. I'm speaking at 9:30. Erica M's also speaking, and I think maybe Kelsey Ramsden. I'm trying to think. She goes by her maiden name personally. Kelsey Ramsden. Check her out. She is an incredible entrepreneur. Check out kellyramsden.com. She's going to be there as well. Then the next day I'm flying to Atlanta to speak at the Type A Parent Conference, which is a really, really cool conference as well. Social media conference. Kelby Carr has been running that conference for a few years. It's great. And at that one I'm speaking about oh gosh, I did the PowerPoint, I did the speaking points. I think maybe it's about using your personal brand to leverage your professional brand. Or
so this should help then.
Something like that.
Yeah. Like a warmer up. Warm up. I love it. So that's very cool. And then we'll see you in a couple weeks at Blistum as well.
Can't wait.
Yay! And in terms of Blistum for ourselves, Jen, your session is on
Google Analytics.
The most boring thing in the world.
Oh, I'm going to make it fun.
No wonder that's sold out. People.
Yeah, crazy facts.
Sold out. Yeah.
Everybody wants to know about Google Analytics. And if you don't make it to Jen's session, you might want to know that Main Street can actually assist you in your Google Analytics management. And also, my session is on handling the haters and the trolls.
You've had a few doozies, haven't you?
Yes, and mine's on, so basically I'm talking about what to do or how to react or how to interact with people who hate you, in a sense, who hate what you write or what you stand for, and how to nicely and respectably and politely tell them to go beep themselves.
Go away. Like, you don't like me, so why do you keep coming back?
Here.
You don't like me. you like?
I have a few doozies I'm going to hand out to everybody, different kind of comebacks, if you will, as well as just chatting about sort of how to blog confidently, how to not be afraid when you don't have a product to support in your life, how to not be afraid to say the things that you want to say and you're afraid that you're going to have negative feedback. My stance on it is let it go. So
You will. You know, everybody does, but and this is the problem. And tell them this, because everybody, you know, you get your 1,000 comments of, oh man, that's amazing, that was so helpful. And you get one comment that says you're a loser and why do you write? And guess what we focus on?
exactly.
The one comment.
I had that one big post last year that just went crazy, and I had half the people, like 90% of the people on it were like, woohoo, I love this post, it's everything I've ever wanted.
You find yourself obsessing over the 10% of idiots, right?
The 2 people on there who were like, this is garbage, I hate your blog, you're a horrible mom, and I was just like, why? And so coming to terms with that fact that there's always going to be jerks out there who think you're dumb.
There's no place, the blogosphere is no place for the, you know, faint-hearted. You got to have a pretty thick skin, let me tell you.
So I'm going to teach you how to thicken up your skin,
Right.
if that sounds good.
Awesome.
So thank you so much. It's just rolling into 11 o'clock right now. So
if anybody wants to find me on Twitter. It's my name, Julie Cole. My blog can be found off our Mabel's Labels website, mabelslabels.com. I also blog at, you know, Yummy Mummy Club, Huffington Post, Modern Mom. If you're looking for me, you're going to find me.
Yeah, it's a lot of blogs to read. I don't even know how she has time to write them all. But
yeah. It's that's another conversation.
That's what I want to know, really, because I'm running into that Yummy Mummy Club mom's blogger this, blogger that, and it's kind of crazy.
Yep.
But we make it work, right?
We do.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight, Julie. It was awesome talking to you. I hope everybody who's been watching has enjoyed the live cast, and as always, this will be available to watch afterwards if you missed the beginning, the middle, or the end. So thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.